This is going to be your Q&A, test number one at 120 words a minute. Proper names, Susan, Rhonda, Baby, and Robertson. Now, you took a bath every day that you lived in the apartment, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And did you ever get burned by the water while you were there?
I used to just turn on a little bit hot water and the rest cold. No, sir, I never got burned.
When you mixed in a little hot and enough cold, you were able to take a bath safely without burning yourself.
Right.
Did you ever tell either Susan or Rhonda that they should be careful around the tub because the water was hot?
They never used to play around the tub.
Well, I understand that, but did you ever tell them that the water was unusually hot?
No, they used, they know.
How did they know that the water was unusually hot?
Because I guess they used to hear me talking about it when I was making, I, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. They know I used to make tea, and I used to say, darn, baby, this water's hot. I can make tea. I don't even have to boil water.
And the children were around when you said that?
We all used to play a lot.
Did you ever, when you talked to your wife about the water coming out of the water heater, did either of you regard this as something that needed to be taken care of soon because it was a safety problem?
We used to say that water is just too hot. Them people need to come turn that water down. That's all we used to say.
Well, did you ever ask a neighbor to help out?
No, I never talked to them.
Do you know who your neighbors were when you lived there?
No, there was nothing but ladies living there.
And you don't know their names?
No, sir.
When you called Robertson, did you ever ask them, what would I need to do to turn my thermostat down?
No, I did talk to the neighbors about something. I asked them, was their water hot?
And what did they say?
Yeah, the ladies told me, yeah, the lady next door told me her water was hot too. And I told her my little girl had got burnt, and she say I got to call them and turn mine. Ask them to turn mine. She said her water was pretty hot.
Based on what she told you, had she ever reported that to Robertson before?
I don't know about before, but I don't know about after neither.
Do you know if she ever called Robertson?
She told me she was because she I just had asked her. I said, because she has a little boy. I said, if your water's too hot, you need to call them and ask them to turn it down because my little girl got burnt.
Did you or your wife ever consider hiring somebody to come in to turn your thermostat down?
No, sir.
Do you have any idea how much that would cost?
No.
When you called Robertson, did you ever speak to a man there?
Usually they have ladies. One day I spoke to a man one time, but I was over at the office. I was asking for some extra work one time, some painting, but I never called and talked to him.
When you were over there asking for the painting work, did you Okay, this will be your Q&A test number 2 at 1:20. Proper name is Robertson. And another thing you called about was the broken railing.
Right.
Now, both of those were broken when you moved in.
Well, the railing wasn't broken when I moved in. It was just loose, you know.
How did it get broken?
How did what get broken?
How did the railing get broken?
I don't know how it got broken, but the screws were loose. And by the girls going upstairs, they need that to help pull themselves up some steps, as small as they were.
When the first time that you called Robertson, do you know what your complaint was?
No, sir, I do not.
Do you remember who you talked to when you first called Robertson?
No, sir. But I know we had the lady who leased us the apartment. I know we had her home phone number. I used to call her when she wasn't in the office and talk to her about things about the apartment and all.
You called Robertson about the broken glass, is that right?
Right,
You called them about the railing.
right,
You called them about the toilet at least twice.
right.
How many times did you call them about the hot water heater, thermostat?
I called them a couple of times.
When you called them the first time, did they tell you they were going to repair or turn down the thermostat?
No, that lady at the office, all she tells us is that she just takes messages and there's nothing she can do but just give the message to somebody. So she didn't give me when it would be done. She just took the message.
Did you know your wife was calling about the thermostat also?
Can you repeat that?
Yes. Did you know that your wife had also made phone calls about the thermostat?
She would tell me that she called them and told them about certain things, but they never came out that day to do such and such.
At some point, Robertson came out to take a look at the dishwasher. Is that right?
Robertson, the man who owns the company, or
Well, somebody he hired
came out and did what?
and looked at the dishwasher.
Somebody came and changed it. Who they worked for or who they were, I don't remember.
Were you there when they changed the dishwasher?
I think when they were changing it or something, I was just coming in. They were putting a new one in or something like that.
Did you ask them to look at the water heater?
No, sir. I don't know what I asked them.
Well, as you testify here today under oath, you don't you can't specifically say that you did ask them to look at the water heater. Is that right?
Which time are you talking about?
When they replaced the dishwasher.
I don't know if I asked them or I didn't. I can't recall. All they did at that time wasn't that important to me where I did remember it, whether I asked him or whether I didn't ask him.
Were you present when the men came out to change the repair the toilet twice?
I was there. I can recall one time a man came with a plunger to do something, but it didn't do nothing. And then I called him back and I said, "This toilet is still messed up, you know." Then they had another guy come out, but
You were there, you think, for the first guy repairing. Okay, next up will be the Q&A test number 1 at 100 words a minute. Proper names are Robertson, Mr. Landry, Wilbert Joseph Landry, and Susan Landry. What do you remember?
I remember some man coming in there with a plunger, but then that's when I remember another man came in a blue suit, but I don't know what he did.
Did you ask either of those men to take a look at the thermostat on the water heater?
No, I don't think that I did.
Now, you mentioned that you talked to a maintenance man about the water heater. Is that right?
He was doing some work to an apartment next door, right?
Do you know what kind of work he was doing at the apartment next door?
They were working and they were doing some, I can't recall what they were doing. They were doing something.
But do you know if they were doing plumbing work, electrical work?
I can't remember.
You don't know the man's name?
No, sir.
You don't know who they worked for?
Do I know who he what?
Yes,
Who he what?
yes. Do you know who? There was a man working at the apartment next door. Do you know who he worked for? Who hired him?
I know the older man. He used to work for the people at the office, you know.
Do you know the older man's name?
No, I never knew. I never knew his name.
What did you ask him to do to the water heater?
I just asked him. I just told him. I said, "Can you turn the hot water heater down?" He told me to call the office because he can't do anything without their permission.
Did you call the office again?
Yeah, I called them.
Did you call the office while he was there?
While who was there? While he was in the next apartment?
While the maintenance man was next door. Yes.
Well, I can't recall during that period of time did I just leave him and go call the office, but I know I did it.
Well, this is what I want to find out. You got the maintenance man next door. He told you to call the office, right?
Yes,
Did you call the office? Tell the people at Robertson, I've got your maintenance man next door and I want him to check my water heater. Did you do that?
I can't recall whether I did or I didn't. Like I'm saying, at the time, at the period of time, I don't know. if I did it later on that day or did I do it right then and there. I don't know when I did do it.
Well, when you did call Robertson, was the maintenance man still there, still next door?
I can't remember.
Did you, why did you think that the thermostat needed to be turned down?
I never said anything.
Mr. Landry, will you please state your full name, please?
Wilbert Joseph Landry.
Mr. Landry, you had an opportunity to sit through the deposition of your wife and of Susan Landry. Is that all right? This is going to be your Q&A test number 2 at 100 words a minute. We have Rochester, Mayo Clinic, Dr. Adams, X-rays, Dr. Berman, and Dr. Evans. Miss Bishop, did you see any other physicians after the surgery on your nose?
Then I went to Rochester.
That is the Mayo Clinic.
Yes, that's right.
When did you go to the Mayo Clinic?
I think it was in July of 1993.
Who did you see there?
I saw a Dr. Adams.
Is he a specialist of some kind?
He is a plastic surgeon.
Did Dr. Adams examine your nose?
I had x-rays of the head.
Did Dr. Adams tell you what the results of the x-rays were?
He wanted to do plastic surgery on me.
Did he discuss the procedure with you?
Yes, he did.
Did he tell you how long you would have to be hospitalized?
He said I would have to be in and out of the hospital several times.
Did you decide not to undergo that?
It was not practical for me at the time I was in Rochester.
How long were you at the Mayo Clinic?
I went through the clinic in 1 week.
Have you seen Dr. Adams since that time?
No, I have not.
Did you see any other physician after you saw Dr. Adams?
I saw Dr. Berman.
Is he a specialist of some kind?
Yes, he is a plastic surgeon.
When did you see Dr. Berman?
In September of 1993, I think it was.
Did Dr. Berman examine you?
Yes,
Did he make any recommendations to you after his examination?
yes. He had a biopsy made.
Was that the time of your first visit to Dr. Berman?
No, it wasn't.
When was the biopsy?
He did the biopsy in November.
What did Dr. Berman do for you when you first saw him?
Well, it was more or less a consultation and evaluation.
Did he advise a biopsy when you first saw him?
I don't think so.
When you first saw him, did he recommend any treatment to you?
No, but I saw him several times.
What was the reason for the repeated visits?
He had me see a radiologist.
Do you know who the radiologist was?
I forget his name. He was in the same building.
Was it a Dr. Evans?
Yes,
What kind of treatment did Dr. Evans give you?
he just took x-rays
That is x-rays of your head.
of my face.
How many times did you see Dr. Evans?
Just once.
Did either Dr. Berman or Dr. Evans tell you what the results of the x-rays were?
I don't recall.
Did Dr. Berman tell you why he wanted you to see Dr. Evans?
For x-rays.
Did he tell you why he wanted x-rays taken?
So he could tell him something, I suppose.
But he didn't tell you why he wanted those x-rays taken?
No, not necessarily.
Now, did Dr. Berman ever discuss with you the question of what plastic surgery should be done?
He asked me if the hospital had offered to do it